EXU's ladder is a grind of competitive players vying for a top spot over the course of a month, fiercely competing for even one spot as they struggle to attempt to crown themselves the victors at the end of the season. Battlegrounds? Oh, yeah, that's the funny one. Hey, did you know the Sharks just topped? Welcome, Custom Card fans. My name is Aurora, and I'm here to bring you the Battleground report of Battlegrounds 14. We'll be taking a look at the top players in this casual competition, what they played, and how they fared in the lead up to the finals. But first, an overview of the decks that were played in the tournament as a whole. 30 players entered, all playing different strategies. Tokyo Terror, Barsiak, Und, Conflagrant, Magiki, Princess Connect, Karkarik Furhire, Boa Stoic, Fireworks Girl, Synchron, Gu T, Ascending Fire, Crystalian, Skyraptor, Inazuma Fighter, Atagnista, Soul Sorceress, Despia, Dynamorphia, Elixirborn, Chill Dream, Myrishi, Thunder Dragon, Alchemage, Stage Girl, and Magical Musket all attempted to break into the top cut of play, but none were successful. Let's first take a look at the 4th place finisher, Dome Dread, on Astramini Punk. Before we get into that, however, we must recognise those who only just lost out on the top cut. Amaranthine was playing Magiki, a normal monster-based control strategy, and managed to place 8th overall. Above him was the Creator, reaching 7th with Chill Dream, a pendulum-based anti-dark strategy that has potent offensive pressure. In 6th was CC on Ascending Fire, another pendulum OTK strategy that can inflict a lot of damage very fast, leading to very quick one-shot kills. So close to the top, and yet just losing out on top cut, was Ocean Phantom on Dynamorphia. A very strong control deck, Dynamorphia continually plays life points to facilitate their powerful effects to put a bind on the opponent. It's no surprise to see that this deck was able to fight its way to 5th place, though it was unfortunately not enough to secure a top 4 placement. Now, let's get back to the top 4. Astramini are an archetype of level 3 psychic pendulum monsters, which makes for seemingly perfect synergy with the punk monsters. Using these level 3 monsters that can each modulate their levels, Astramini are able to conduct both synchro and EXU summons, with the punk engine helping in both regards. Dome started the Battleground out on a loss, losing to the overall 3rd place finisher in the first round. After that, it was win after win, taking round 2 in a 2-0 against Elixirborn, round 3 was a 2-1 victory against Tokyo Terror, and Karkarik Furhire was beaten 2-1 in round 4, while round 5 ended with Dome at a 4-1 record as he beat Despia 2-0. He did lose out in the finals, however, and ended the tournament with a more than satisfactory 4-2 record and a 4th place finish overall. The 3rd place finisher was the Awkward One, known for being a 3-time EXU ladder champion. He's also now known for being a Shark pilot, and topping an event with it. Sharks are an EXU-based control deck, composed of fish monsters, using cards like Bahamut Shark and Stealth Kraken to dominate the board. Orc started this Battleground with a 2-0 victory over Astramini Punk, then going on to beat Furhire Karkarix 2-0 in round 2, and Atagnista 2-1 in round 3. Orc then dropped a game in round 4 to the eventual winner of the Battleground, and then beat Gu T in round 5 2-1 to proceed to the finals, where he lost again to the eventual winner of the tournament. Having beaten Dome in the first round, he was awarded 3rd place overall, going 4-2 in a more than respectable and heavily copium-filled showing of Shark. Kragon took 2nd place, piloting Mortal Engine to yet another topping finish for that deck, further justifying its dominant status in the metagame. For those unaware, Mortal Engine is a control/aggro deck that focuses on field spells that summon themselves as monsters when destroyed in the field zone, which allows them to make powerful EXU monsters and beat down with high stat monsters. Cray did not drop a match during the rounds of play. Round 1 was a 2-0 sweep against Skyraptor, round 2 a 2-0 victory against Myrichi, round 3 was a 2-1 against Chill Dream, round 4 2-0 against Dynamorphia, and finally netting victory in round 5 in a 2-0 game that left him the clear favourite to win the tournament. However, after beating Astramini Punk in the semi-finals, he lost out to the top spot in a 1-2 match, leaving him with a 5-1 record and an impressive 2nd place finish. The top deck was played by Pretzel Snake, that deck being a TCG Menace, Punk Eldritch. A deck that takes advantage of Punk's ability to make Chaos Ruler to melt a bunch of Eldritch cards that trigger their effects in the graveyard, this deck managed to perform excellently despite only having access to one Golden Lord. Round 1 was a 2-0 victory against Thunder Dragon, then round 2 a 2-1 victory versus Conflagrant. Round 3 was a win by default over Soul Sorceress due to external issues, then round 4 yielded a 2-1 win over Sharks, though round 5 wasn't so kind, as it held a 0-2 loss to Mortal Engine. In the first game of finals, Pretzel beat Sharks in a 2-0 victory, leaving just the final game as the deciding factor, Eldritch Punk against Mortal Engine. Let's check that match out. This is the finals match between Cragond and Pretzel Snake. Let's see that, yep, Cragond is going to be winning the die roll and is going to be going first. Or die roll RPS game, same thing. And we're going to get a first look at their hands here. And honestly, Ogre Dancer's full Punk combo. So Pretzel's looking good. And Nib is a perfect counter to that. However, having the Ash in Pretzel's hand does mean that Cray's hand doesn't do anything, because ashing the Barrage of the Mortal Engines is going to be absolutely devastating, because Barrage of the Mortal Engines doesn't destroy for cost. You can't destroy for cost. So that means that Cray's not really going to have a good way to play through Pretzel's hand, and is going to probably just be ending on, like, I don't know, is it going to be Geodry in the Monster Zone pass? Activate Barrage, that's going to get ashed, and then, yep, that's going to be a pass. Pretzel's going to top deck the Foxy Tune, which is very funny. Ogre Dance is going to be discarded to the graveyard, which is going to use its effect to add the Nopunk Z Armin from the deck to the hand. Then we're going to normal summon the Z Armin and pay 600 life points in order to search for another copy of the Nopunk Ogre Dance. Not Foxy Tune. We already have that one in hand, so we're going to be using that Foxy Tune's effect, and we're going to discard it to the graveyard, and the discard here is going to be the other Ogre Dance, you know, just, like, drawing it to discard it. Then we're going to special summon from the deck the Nopunk Dianote. This Dianote can then be tuned with this Nopunk Z Amin in order to summon the big boy, the Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, and we're going to hope to get some really good mills here. What we're going to see off the top, we are going to see... Or first we're going to activate the Dianote. Yep, that's the one. That's going to special summon a non-level 5 Punk monster from the graveyard, which is going to special summon a level 8 from the graveyard, which is going to set us up for a rank 8 play on the follow-up. We're going to see an Ash, not useful. Conquistador, very useful. White Destiny, incredibly useful. Now we have access to both Eldritch and Disruption during the opponent's turn. The Z Armin, not particularly useful, and a Lost Wind, which could be very useful if Cray manages to summon an Akranos. Obviously, none of these are an ad. However, we do have 2 graveyard effects in the Eldritch portion of the deck, and we also have the Lost Wind. Next, we're going to overlay this Chaos Ruler and this Nopunk Ogre Dance. I think now we're in Nibiru range. What was that? As a normal summon of Z Armin Search, then discard for Foxy Tune, special summon from deck. The Dianote, summon 3 was the Chaos Ruler, summon 4 was the Ogre Dance, and summon 5 is the Zombie Vampire. So now we are in range of this Nibiru the Primal Being. It all depends on how much Pretzel is willing to extend and how much Cray is willing to let her do so before dropping that Nib. The top 4 cards of each deck is going to come down, and it's not really anything great in either of them. This Foxy Tune, however, can get special summoned because it has been milled by the effect of the Zombie Vampire. Yeah, neither of their cards on the top of the deck that just got milled there were particularly good for them. The effect of this Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, is going to activate Banishing a Light in the Dark from the graveyard to special summon it back. And it is at this point that Nibiru the Primal Being is going to be coming down, because probably a fear of something like, I don't know, Lancelot maybe. Any negate would have been able to block this Nibiru the Primal Being in its path. Instead, it's just going to be summoning a massive token to Pretzel's field by removing pretty much everything else from the field. Then we're going to set 2, and we're going to activate the effect of White Destiny, banishing it from the graveyard to set from the deck the Huaquero of the Golden Land. And then we're going to go to the end phase, and banish that Conquistador and set the Scarlet Sanguine. And this sets up Pretzel in a really, really good position going into this turn. Cray, however, does get the best top deck in the game, which would be that Mortal Engine Frijosta. However, since we don't control our Mortal Engine, we can't use this Nazara's effect to pop a face down. We're just going to activate this Frijosta, and then we're going to use the effect of the Nazara in Graveyard. We're going to activate Huaquero as Chainlink 2, and then we're going to chain that Eldritch of Scarlet Sanguine as Chainlink 3. This will allow us to special summon the Eldritch of Golden Lord from the deck, and the Huaquero to special summon itself, and then banish the Nazara at Resolution. Next, the activation of Frijosta is going to activate. We're going to activate Lost Wind Cyclone, targeting the Nibiru, the Primal Being, to drop its attack by 1,000. Then pop a card on the field, which is going to be that Frijosta to block its activation. And that is going to be the end of game 1. Really impressive for Punk Eldritch to win going second, honestly. But considering how badly Cray bricked there, I'm honestly not surprised. This is why we don't play we don't play generators, baby. Don't play generators because they clog up your hand like no one's business. Cray has elected to go second here, which makes some sense considering how Mortal Engine is a very aggressive beatdown style of deck as well as being a control deck. First of all is going to be activation of this emergency teleport, which is going to get met with Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. However, it doesn't really matter since we have this Foxy Tune in hand. So we're going to discard this Foxy Tune, and then we're also going to discard this copy of Huaquero of the Golden Land to special summon the Nopunk as the Armin from the deck. Then the Armin's effect is going to activate, paying 600 life points, and here we're going to add the Ukiyo-Punk Sharakusai, which is a very interesting add here, as we're going to be able to normal summon it, and then pay 600 to use its effect, which allows you to fusion summon a Punk Fusion from the actual deck using monsters in your hand or field as fusion material. This is going to allow us to summon the Ukiyo-Punk Rising Carp, which has the ability to tribute itself to special summon any 2 non-level 8 punks from the deck. Now, obviously, this means we can't get any of our super powerful punks, but it does mean we can get to Deer Note, which allows us to go into level 8 Synchros. We're going to use these two to go into the Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, and then use the effect of the Chaos Ruler to mill the top 5 cards of the deck. Let's see if we can get a hit in there as well. Deer Note's effect is going to be allowing us to special summon back that Ukiyo-Punk Rising Carp, so that we can then Exceed summon with it later. We're going to see a Scarlet Sanguine, we're going to see the Golden Boy, we're going to see Evenly Matched, we're going to see Evenly Matched, and we're going to see Lost Wind. Seeing the evenly matched here obviously just completely takes them out of the equation, but the Lost Wind is nice in Graveyard, and we're probably going to keep this Eldritch in the Graveyard, considering how our Eldritch Scarlet Sanguine cannot special summon from the Graveyard. Also seeing the Scarlet Sanguine in the Graveyard is something else that's quite nice to see. Then we're going to overlay, and we're going to summon that Titanic Galaxy. At the end of the main phase, go into the end phase, and then we're going to activate the effect of that Scarlet Sanguine, banishing it, and the Huaquero from the Graveyard, both to set some Golden Land and some Eldlichs from the Graveyard. Basically, Eldritch. All of its Eldritch. Cray is going to start off by activating Frijosta, which is going to completely swallow that Titanic Galaxy. Too juicy of a target. Personally, I think Geardry probably would have been a better choice, since it forces out the Titanic Galaxy, and Frijosta is generally better than Geardry. I don't think there's anything on Hope Harbinger that stops it from getting destroyed, which means that they would be forced to expend that material. But you never know. Cray's mind works in different ways than mine does, evidently. The Lightning Storm is going to come down here, which is a massive equalizer for Cray. It's going to hit the back row, and Pretzel is going to be chaining 2 of her back row to this, which are going to be the White Destiny as Chainlink 2 and the Scarlet Sanguine as Chainlink 1. The White Destiny is going to special summon that Eldritch the Golden Lord from the Graveyard, and then the Scarlet Sanguine will special summon an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring from the deck. This might seem a bit suspect, and that's because it should be. However, there is a rank 3 monster called Ghost Wheel and Floating Lanterns, which can be Exceed summoned using 1 Ghost Girl as your material, and Ash obviously qualifies for that. Which means that you can actually summon what is essentially a more conditional Trident, just by summoning a hand trap from the deck here, which is really quite interesting. Next is going to be an activation of Mortal Engine Geardry. Oh, that's why Mortal Engine Geardry wasn't activated, because it needs a Mortal Engine monster on the field to activate. That makes sense. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, imagine reading. Geodre's effect is going to be able to activate here, and it's going to be able to special summon itself back from the graveyard, and then the effect, and then it's just going to go straight into the battle and attack into that Ash. But Titanic Galaxy has another effect. By detaching this magical dragon, it can redirect that Geodre's attack into itself, and then Cray will take 200 damage. And then the effect of the altar will activate, adding back that Geodre to the hand. We'll then send that altar to the graveyard, and then use the altar's effect, special summon it as a monster. And now finally we have a monster on the field to be able to use with that Geodre in order to pop that Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, which otherwise would be a major thorn in our side. Then Cray is going to set that what's it called again? Assault on the Mortal Engines. That's the one. That's going to be set, hopefully, that's probably to set up a play involving something like Necro Valley or Summon Breaker. Unlikely that Cray would have brought in Summon Breaker against Eldritch. I mean, it is also Punk, so it's very possible. In the end phase, the effect of Huaquero, the Golden Land, will activate in the graveyard, and it will banish itself in order to set a Scarlet Sanguine from the deck. If you're wondering why we're not activating the effect of the Scarlet Sanguine in the graveyard, it's because these are both hard 1/1s per turns. You can only use one effect per turn, and we've already used that effect. We're then going to overlay onto the Ash the Ghost Wheel and Floating Lanterns, which is a basically more conditional Trident. With no darks in graveyard, there's nothing that Pretzel can banish for Chaosic Ruler, the Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. Somewhat of a tongue twister. So instead it's just going to be a switch Golden Daddy to attack position and swing into the altar. Don't quote me when I said that. Eldritch of Scarlet Sanguine is going to be set, and then the effect of the White Destiny will activate in the graveyard, banishing itself from the graveyard to set the Conquistador from the deck. This does mean we have two Conquistadors. But I think she's already gone through... Yeah, she's already gone through double Huaquero, and I would not be surprised to find out that that's all she's running. It's very uncommon for a Eldritch deck to play more than 2 Huaquero. The card is not as good as Conquistador in most matchups. However, Mortal Engine is unfortunately not most matchups. So we're going to be sending this Geodre to the graveyard to activate this altar, and then the effect of the Geodre is going to activate into the graveyard. This is going to special summon itself back from the graveyard, and then we're going to activate the effect of Altar. To this, we're going to get chained the Ghost Wheel and Floating Lanterns to pop the Altar before it can search. And in addition to before it can search, we're going to be activating Assault of the Mortal Engines to destroy it, and instead we will gain advantage of it instead, says Cray. However, Pretzel says no, and it's instead going to activate the effect of Conquistador, the Golden Land, to special summon it, and then pop the Altar right there. This means that a whole bunch of effects fizzle, but the altar will still activate after being destroyed in the field spell zone, and special summon it as a monster. Then we're going to overlay them and summon the Akranos, and then we're going to use the effect Akranos, detaching that altar and adding from the deck to the hand a copy of Mortal Engine Frijosta, which of course we have not yet used this turn since it was negated and swallowed last turn so rudely by Hope Harbinger. The Frijosta is going to activate, and it's going to use its effect to search for a Mortal Engine field spell from the deck to the hand, which here is going to be Mortal Engine Alma, I believe. Yep, we want to get some of that graveyard rotation going back, since we have 2 altars in the graveyard, and that's not really where we want them. We're going to send this Frijosta to the graveyard to activate the altar. No, the Alma, sorry. And then we're going to use the effect of the Frijosta to special summon itself back from the graveyard. Gotta love Mortal Engine. The deck is simple and it's brilliant. Alma's effect is going to target Frijosta, Altar, Barrage. Makes sense that we want to get our Pot of Greed back. In goes Altar, in goes Assault, and in goes Frijosta. It's not Barrage, but, you know, we didn't have Barrage in the graveyard anyway. That was last game. So, yeah, we're Yu-Gi-Oh players, we can't read. Drawing into Sigdra. Sigdra is actually pretty cracked here. Going into the battle phase, this Akranos will attack into this Eldritch, the Golden Lord, and the reason why we're doing this instead of activating Sigdra is because Alma has a little effect at the top of it, which says banish any monster attacked by your Mortal Engine monster after damage calculation. Now, the thing about Eldritch is they can't really get back a Golden Lord that's banished, which is why called buying on an Eld Lord over here actually completely shuts down their deck. The same happens if you attack it with an Acronos while it's under armor, which means this baby is going to get banished. While we still control him, however, we will be activating this Scarlet Sanguine in order to special summon this Ash from the, I believe, graveyard this was. And we've already used Conquistador of the Golden Land this turn, which means we actually don't have the capability to interrupt the Acronos' attack. Goodbye, Golden Man, and then goodbye, Conquistador of the Golden Land. Since it's destroyed in battle with a Mortal Engine monster, Alma will still banish it, even though it is also treated as a trap. Next is going to be dumping this Alma to activate this Sigdra. And then we're going to use the effect of the Alma and special summon the Alma back as a monster. Then the Sigdra's effect is going to activate to, what are we banishing from Pretzel's grave? Probably Chaos Dragon. I mean, there's not really a great banish. Oh, it's Lost Wind. That also makes a lot of sense, considering how we are just about to overlay these two. Yeah, Pretzel also forgot that that was there, which makes sense because otherwise she would have probably activated it on the summon of Archronos. Nikai's probably a good 8 here, as is Sanafont the Sky Prison might be pretty good. Although you do know that she's almost completely out of Eldritch cards. If you don't know she's almost completely out, then you know that she's close. So the overlay here is relatively interesting. Because we're not overlaying at all, and instead we're going for good old Plan B, Rooftop Inu. How lovely. Yeah, this card will not be shuffling back that Eldritch, I do not believe, anytime soon. Pretzel's going to find a Foxy Tune off the top. Tribute summoning Foxy Tune is very funny. Rooftop Inu will be activated. There is a banished Conch. That's really quite funny. This will, I believe, remain face up in the spell and trap zone. If I remember how trap monsters work, yeah, it stays face up in the spell and trap zone because its effect is just negated. This Scarlet Sanguine is going to set from the deck the Conch that was just set back, but with no Golden Lord, these cards do very little. We're now going to link to and summon the Nightmare Phoenix and use the Nightmare Phoenix effect to discard and pop that Sigdra. Sigdra's effect will activate to special summon itself back as a monster, and Pretzel is going to realize that she is definitely dead. That means we're going into the let's just rip off MBT completely. So we're going into the all-important Game 3, which is going to leave Pretzel choosing whether to go first or second, and she's probably going to choose to go first here. Yes, she does want to bank on the fact that Cray will not draw Nib. Cray has not drawn Nib. She, however, has drawn Cosmic Cyclone. And, you know, I heard that Cosmic Cyclone, somewhere, I heard it was a good card. It's especially good against Mortal Engine. Maybe not so good against Mortal Engine that has drawn Expeditioning. With a bit of luck, Cray could definitely steal this game. Well, could being the figurative term, since we all know what the outcome was. Norpunk Ogre Dance will activate in the hand here, adding a Norpunk Z Armin from the deck to the hand. And then the normal summon of the Z Armin will activate on the field to pay 600 life points and search for a Norpunk Foxy Tune. We do have the Scarlet Sanguine in the hand to discard for this, which I'm assuming is going to be the discard, but it could also be Lost Wind Cyclone because that also has an effect to reset itself from the graveyard. It is going to be the Scarlet Sanguine. Makes enough sense. To special summon from the deck the Norpunk Deer Note, since we do want to be summoning this card so we can go into the 8. Hopefully, you know, it's always better to pitch Sang. Oh, Sanguine, as opposed to Sangan. I was very confused there for a second, since Sangan activates from field to graveyard. We're going to summon the Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, and that's going to mill 5, but not before the Deer Note activates to special summon back that Ogre Dance. I love the fact that these cards are finally getting summoned, because these are really cool cards. Let's see, we're going to not summon that one. We're going to summon Foxy Tune instead, because, you know, she's a woman, and, you know, sometimes that's all it takes. The excavates off the top, 2 of them are very good. We have a Scarlet Sanguine and a White Destiny, however, they're not very good while we have another Scarlet Sanguine in the graveyard. There is one ad here, and it's going to be that Ogre Dance. So, you know, that's actually a really decent card to add back from the graveyard, which we're just not going to do. Okay, we're going to overlay, and we're going to summon the number 38, which is going to basically mean we have 2 blanks, 3 blanks, I think, with the Solemn Judgment, since the card, I believe, won't be... Yeah, it won't be sent from the field zone to the graveyard, since it was never on the field to begin with. Since Cray only has Nazara and Geodry in hand, this Cyclone's going to have to hit something big in order to win the game for him. And I think this is probably just going to be the complete end of the game right here. White Destiny is going to set this Conquistador from the deck, and Scarlet Sanguine is going to set a Huaquero of the Golden Land. That's just Hope Harbinger set 5. The top deck is Immortal Engine, it is Sigdra, and we do have the Expeditioning to search for some more. Let's see, that's going to get Judgmented, and that makes more than enough sense for Pretzel to do. Yeah, these are the 2 set Golden Land cards that Cray knows about, so that he knows which ones he needs to blind Cyclone. The first activation is going to be the Sigdra, most likely to try and bait out some negation. Sigdra is going to go to the graveyard, and the Nazara is going to be activated, and then the Sigdra is going to activate to special summon itself back from the graveyard, no longer treated as a spell or trap, and now simply treated as a monster, which means that it is completely immune to Cosmic Cyclone. This Nazara, however, will not be. This basically just chooses the target of Nazara, pretty much, instead of just letting it do free reign on Lost Wind Cyclone. Well, not free reign exactly, but just like, instead of having a chance to hit Lost Wind Cyclone. Geodry is going to come out here, and since we control a Mortal Engine monster, we can target this Hope Harbinger. If the Hope Harbinger didn't have an effect, that would then swallow the monster that tried to kill it. Then we're going to normal summon Ash. Link 2. No, Synchro Summon Vinar Wolf for the End of Beasts. Oh! I mean, Pretzel does have an out to it. End phase, interesting. Yeah, this doesn't really yeah, I mean, this thing has 3000 attack. It's exactly the same as Hope Harbinger. This Hope Harbinger is going to get dropped by 1000 by Lost Wind Cyclone. That 1000 drop is not going to be going away. This Huac is going to be activated, which is then going to get banished by the Cyclone. Obviously, we're just summoning it so that we can have that extra damage on the opponent's turn, but we are not finding that damage. Then we're going to set another Huac from the deck with that Scarlet Sanguine, and this is going to put Pretzel in a terrifyingly good position. The draw is an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, which is just so crazy here, because now we can Synchro Summon with those 2 and summon a Draco Berserker of the Tenyi against a field spell deck. That can't be right. That can't be right. I mean, that will be the end of the game, however, because we do have the Huaquero of the Golden Land. Is that the end of the game? It's not the end of the game because we can't quite hit hard enough, because Hope Harbinger is still being dropped by that Lost Wind Cyclone. We will banish this Conquistador from the graveyard, however, to get the final Scarlet Sanguine from the deck, and that is going to be the end of the game right there, I'm fairly certain. It's a very, very good top deck, but it's not going to save him, unfortunately. The Huaquero and the Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine absolutely see to the fact that this will not be doing anything. And that is the final round of Battlegrounds number 14. Punk Eldritch takes the event by storm. Mortal Engine only managing to get 1 win just by managing to out-resource the opponent, just not really out-grind them, but well, yeah, out-grinding them actually, because of all of the Pretzel lost all of her Elixirs and all of her Conks and all of her Quacks. So she really just got outshone by Mortal Engine in that game. But games 1 and 3, she absolutely stomped the engines. And just congratulations to Pretzel for winning a Battleground. Overall, a huge congratulations to everyone who participated in the tournament. If my memory serves me correctly, this was one of the largest battlegrounds that EXU has ever held, and that's only possible with the wonderful people who take part in them. If you want to be a part of the next EXU Battleground, make sure you check out the Discord link in the description. As always, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and tell us what you thought down in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more custom card content, and click the bell icon if you want to be notified every time we upload. That's all from me for this Battleground report. Report closed.